Good morning, everyone. My name is Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. Welcome to the County Council session on March 10th. We have two proclamations today. We're going to start with a proclamation recognizing the Art Stream players by Council Member Evan Glass. Those who came for that proclamation, please come forward.
Thank you. Here we go. And you got your star. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Come on. Good morning. It is a great day here in Rockville. The sun is shining, and we have some incredible guests joining us today. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome the Art Stream players here to the County Council to celebrate their 20th anniversary. Right? This is wonderful.
Yes.
I have been attending events and productions of Art Stream over the years. And, you know, there are so many things that you all do that are incredible and inspiring, but it's just heartwarming to hear your music, to see you dance, to see the joy that you bring, not only to each other, but to your families and to the community. It is a wonderful organization. And I am so glad that you've taken time out of your day to come up here. And to all of my colleagues and to everybody watching, we're going to have a special production as well. So stay tuned for that in a moment. But before they regale all of us, I would like to let our executive director make a few words, and then we can introduce everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Catherine Dubois. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Council President Fanny Gonzalez. Thank you, Council Member Evan Glass. It is a privilege to be here. Art Stream has been operating for 20 years. We are an organization for performing artists with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and we empower them to shine, to perform, to connect with the community, and to share their talents with us. So thank you so much. I'm going to let them show their talents to you now.
And real quick before we do that, let everyone introduce themselves. Say hi and say your name.
Amelia Turkowitz.
Adam McCrensky.
Rachel Coates.
Denise Green.
Kim Schofield.
Langston Caldwell.
Annetta Dexter Sawyer.
Pamela Leighton Billick.
Fantastic. Now the moment we've all been waiting for. I'll get out of the way.
Pitch pipe. Did you want your pitch pipe? Really? Okay.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. It's true, make a better day, just you and me.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I think we just found our new council motto, colleagues. Our song. So before I read, I'd like to end these. Open this up. Can you open this up? Here we go. Yeah. There we go. Thank you for bringing some love and light into our morning. That will help guide us throughout the day as we work on behalf of all 1.1 million residents of Montgomery County. So thank you for that joy. And now I'm going to read the proclamation from the County Council. Come on in. Come on in. Whereas ArtStream was founded in 2005 to provide opportunities for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to express themselves artistically, build confidence, and share their talents with the broader community. And whereas for 2 decades, ArtStream has provided transformative programming, including inclusive theater productions, acting classes, and community workshops that enhance the lives of participants, families, and audiences throughout Montgomery County. And whereas ArtStream's dedication to accessibility and inclusion has created welcoming spaces where all individuals, regardless of ability, can engage in the arts, strengthen social connections, and cultivate creative skills. And whereas the dedication and creativity of ArtStream's staff, teaching artists, volunteers, families, and participants has inspired our community for 20 years and will continue to be an inspiration for many more to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby celebrates the 20th anniversary of ArtStream and recognizes its extraordinary contributions to inclusion, creativity, and community building through the arts. Presented on this, the 10th day of March in the year 2026 by myself and Council President Fani Gonzalez. Congratulations and thank you. Yeah.
Michael.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I feel very happy. Thank you for that. I needed that. Next, we're going to move on to our second proclamation, a very special one as well. It's a proclamation recognizing the retirement of Maryland Circuit Court Judge James Bonifant by Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez with the county executive, if he shows up. All right, if the judge and everybody else can please, an extension, can come forward. I'm sure the county executive will show up. If not, it's okay.
Well, he was there Thursday night. So
Yeah,
that was very
so we're
nice.
good.
Thank you. We are.
All right, this is, yeah, it's working. Okay. So today I am so pleased to recognize a judge that has dedicated his life not just to the justice system, but to Montgomery County. So Judge Bonifant has spent more than 40 years in the legal profession, including many years on the bench, approaching his work with thoughtfulness, fairness, and deep respect for the people who came before the court. As administrative judge of the Circuit Court, he has guided one of the busiest courts in Maryland with steady leadership in a calm, collaborative style. And everybody that I have talked to has said that about you. Let me say that. Those who have worked with him know that he brings not only sharp legal judgment, but also patience, humility, and humanity to the bench. His leadership and service have left a lasting mark on our court and our community, and we're deeply grateful. We wish him very happiness and well-earned next chapter. So I wonder if anybody from if you guys want to introduce yourself, or no, if not, that's okay. If you want to say a few words before we read that proclamation, that'd be great.
Just a couple, if I may. First, I want to thank the county council. You have been there repeatedly during my tenure, providing us with the necessary funds so that we can operate and assist all of our county residents. It's been extremely helpful, not only with the annual operating budget, but also with the capital expenditures that we've asked for. So thank you very much for that. It's tough following that act that was just here.
You can say.
But, well, no. No. But I do feel that just demonstrated something that has guided me. I give the jury welcoming speech about once a week, and I make 2 points. And the first is we have the greatest system of government the world has ever seen, by far. And there are many underlying foundational principles for that. First and foremost, we spread our power out to as many people as we can. And that's why we've worked so well together, the judiciary, the legislative branch of the county government, and the executive branch as well. The other is that everyone is important, every single individual. And I am certain that you are guided by that just as I am every single day. And it's so important to take the time and think about how is this going to affect somebody else. And then also, because of my background, all law is family law. All law is family law. Because no matter what area you're dealing with that day, someone's family is going to be affected by that. And those have been my guiding principles as I've gone through this. But again, thank you very much for everything that you all have done for the court. Thank you very much.
And that speech was so great that you even pitched on the budget. I give you kudos for that. And who does that? You did. That's awesome. So I'm going to read the proclamation. The County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland proclamation. Whereas the Honorable James Bonifant has devoted more than 4 decades to the service of Montgomery County and the state of Maryland, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to the fair administration of justice and to public service. And whereas Judge Bonifant has served with distinction as a private practice attorney, family magistrate, associate judge, and since July 2021 as county administrative judge for the Circuit Court for Montgomery County and circuit administrative judge for the 6th Judicial Circuit. And whereas in his leadership roles, Judge Bonifant guided the courts with professionalism and steady judgment, while also contributing to the judiciary through service on the Specialty Courts and Dockets Committee, Education Committee, Courts Operations Committee, and the Judicial Council, as well as through volunteer service as a coach and board member. And that's very important. Whereas, through his steadfast commitment to justice, leadership, and mentorship, Judge Bonifant has left a lasting and meaningful impact on the judiciary and the community he has served so faithfully. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the County Executive, Mark Elrich, and the entire County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby express our deepest gratitude to Honorable James Bonifant for his exemplary service and extend our congratulations on the occasion of his retirement, effective March 14, 2026, presented on the 10th day of March in the year 2026 by County Executive Mark Elrich and Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. What a great pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for all your leadership. Thank you. Let's hold this and we're going to take a few photos. There you go. Hey. Thank you so much for that. Believe it or not, we're ahead of schedule, so we need to wait for 7 more minutes. So we'll start at 9:30. Okay, thank you. It's 9:30. Can we please start with the countdown?
Good morning. I think we're back. Yeah.
Good morning again. Moving on to to general services. No, general business. Madam Clerk, would you share today's announcements?
Thank you. Good morning. Public hearings for Expedited Bill 1326, Building Permits, Immigration Detention Facility, the ICE Out Act, and Expedited Bill 1426, Motor Vehicle Towing, Redemption of Vehicle, Proof of Ownership or Control, the Vehicle Recovery Act, will be held on March 24th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. in the Council Office Building. Also, public hearings on the proposed FY27 operating budgets for the Montgomery County Government, Montgomery College, the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, WSSC Water, and Montgomery County Public Schools will be held on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., on Wednesday, April 8th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., and on Thursday, April 9th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. in the Council Office Building. Those wishing to provide testimony for any public hearing must register in advance on the Council's website or by calling 240-777-7803. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no minutes for approval this week, so we're going to move on to agenda item 1. It's a public hearing on Bill 7-26, Buildings, General Requirements, Scope and Applicability, Exemptions, Buildings on Structures Used Exclusively for Agricultural Purposes, Amendments. This bill will clarify the agricultural purposes exception to building permitting requirements and generally amend the law regarding buildings. An Economic Development Committee work session is scheduled for March 23rd, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business on March 16, 2026. As a reminder for public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by the allotted time. Please, no clapping or booing during testimony. I'm going to start calling the first group. Have Bob Cecil, Link Howing, Doug Lecklider. He is virtual. Okay, so only those two in person. Thank you for coming. Each one of you has 3 minutes, and we're going to start with Mr. Cecil.
Thank you, Madam President, Madam Vice President, and distinguished members of the Council. My name is Bob Cecil. I live in Poolesville, Maryland, and I am the Director of Montgomery Agricultural Producers. We have submitted written testimony and verbal today. We want to accept our written testimony as support for Bill 0726. The concept of the way buildings on farms have been treated from a Department of Permitting Services and other agencies isn't really fair to agriculture. We're different. We operate differently. Our offices aren't in Bethesda, and they don't have huge parking lots and so on and so forth. So this bill is really going to help us a lot. There's also a state bill going on for soil conservation that's also looks like it's going to get passed in the state. So we're happy about that. So we support this bill and hope you guys, the committee supports it. And if there's anything we can do to help along the way, please let us know. My God, I got 2 minutes left. I can't believe it.
Thank you so much.
No, I defer my time to him. This is not Congress. We're not on Capitol Hill.
No, please don't do that.
But I do want to also just remind you that what's going on right now, price-wise for farmers, are skyrocketing. The costs of our inputs are really high. Fertilizers really high. Everything's really, really expensive. And to quote the former head of the Office of Agriculture, Jeremy Criss, farmers are price takers, not price makers. We don't get to pass on our costs. It's whatever happens in the Chicago trade is what controls what we get for our products. So it's very important as you move through the year for legislation and regulation, please keep that in mind. It's very difficult for us right now because our costs are so high. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. You still have a minute left. Oh, no, 3. Okay, perfect. Mr. Langhauer.
Morning. I am Link Homing with the Fair Access Committee for the Western County. I'm here on behalf of Fair Access in the town of Poolesville to support Bill 726. Montgomery County has required some farmers to meet more complex commercial permitting standards for spaces like office use to manage their farm businesses or buildings to process agriculture. This adds to the cost, as Bob said, and the complexities of operating farms, which is already a very challenging business, as you know. The legislation would exempt these offices on farms alone from these more extensive rules. Fair standards help protect family farms, support local production, and strengthen our county's economy. At Fair Access, and this is the reason I'm testifying, it may be a little surprising, but I am because of this, we can also identify with the motivation and purpose behind this legislation. For decades, our area was treated inequitably, and our nearly century-old high school was never modernized, as you know. We did not have a community center nearby like other parts of the county. The county tried to close Monocacy Elementary School more than once because it did not meet average standards for the rest of the county. Our public transportation is inadequate and does not serve the needs of our citizens. These actions are a result in part of the county applying metrics that are meant for populated areas of the county, as Bob mentioned. They do not fit our area and are inequitable. Farmers, and I know a lot of them, are highly skilled at a wide range of activities, from managing their equipment to maintaining their farms and businesses and buildings. This legislation does not exempt farms from common sense rules, but rather standards designed for offices built for use in densely populated areas with many other offices nearby and people as well. The metrics, again, used down county simply don't fit the Ag Reserve. To help farmers survive and thrive in what is already a very tough business, the county has always instituted policies regarding farming operations so as to ease and simplify the management of these businesses. The legislation only applies to offices built to manage farming operations or process agricultural products for market. It does not apply to buildings for consumers and outside visitors. The legislation is measured and is common sense. It will provide more support to help our farmers grow and thrive, and we support it. We urge passage by the council, and thank you for introducing this common sense bill.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to go virtual. We have two speakers. First, we're going to start with Mr. Doug Lecklider. Finally.
I want to thank President Gonzalez and Councilmember Balcombe and Lukey for bringing this forward. My name is Doug Lecklider. I am a lifelong resident and farmer in Montgomery County. I'm president of Montgomery County Farm Bureau. Montgomery County Farm Bureau is in favor of this bill, 7-26. This bill would clarify agriculture buildings in Chapter 8 of the Building Code by adding a more concise definition in Section 2A to assure that the public is protected, and adding an agricultural purpose definition in Section 8.2 to assure that modern agriculture can function and be managed as required. This will allow the business of agriculture the ability to have a structure to process a raw farm product into a value-added product. This bill will also allow a farm to have a farm office to conduct and direct the business of the farm. The modern farm business, often involving several millions of dollars in sales and a complex issues such as nutrient management plans, marketing plans, tax issues, and confidential employee information, are well beyond the ledger on the kitchen table. Bill 7-26 will modernize Montgomery County building codes in Chapter 8 to accommodate 21st century agriculture. For these reasons and much more, Montgomery County Farm Bureau supports Bill 7-26. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have Sean Ball.
Good morning, Council President, members of the Council. Thank you very much. It's amazing bill that we all farmers were expecting. I'm a CA farmer, which is Controlled Environment Agriculture. We're based in Gaithersburg, Maryland. We operate 8,000 square foot greenhouse with 20,000 gallon closed loop food production system. In 2025, we produce a little over 4,000 pounds of tilapia fish and more than 32,000 pounds of herbs and leafy greens. As you see, we're small. And by reading Bill 7-26, it was amazing that everyone takes into account farmers that has been overlooked for the past few years. And as you know, that traditional farming nowadays is going beyond open fields and traditional barns, and increasingly food is produced inside controlled environment agriculture facilities like greenhouses and modular agricultural structures and even containers like cargo shipping containers. That's why I would respectively suggest several clarifications into the language of the bill by adding controlled environment agriculture as one part of the general overall agriculture, and also mentioning, probably listing the ways how we market and produce our product through the value-added production, like post-harvest activities, washing, cooling, packing and refrigeration, just removing the uncertainty in the bill when it is going to be interpreted by permitting department and others engaged in food safety and environmental control in our county. So I think this bill has the potential to make Montgomery County as a regional leader in climate smart agriculture and next generation farming. Again, thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to see the results of this bill implemented.
Thank you for your time. We don't have anybody else scheduled to speak, so this public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to agenda item 2. It's a public hearing on expedited bill 10-26, Arts and Humanities amended. This bill will establish requirements for the Board of Directors of the Arts and Humanities Council, establish appointment and confirmation requirements for members of the Board of the Arts and Humanities Council, establish certain operational requirements of the Arts and Humanities Council, require the establishment of a racial equity and social justice policy by the Arts and Humanities Council, establish a plan and timeline for implementation, and generally amend the law regarding the Arts and Humanities Council. A joint government operations and fiscal policy and education and culture committee work session is scheduled for March 19, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business on March 11, 2026. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you're testifying and are appropriate for a public hearing. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have one speaker, Ms. Luisa Cardona. If you can please come forward. You have 3 minutes on behalf of the Office of the County Executive. It's okay.
Good morning, Council President and members of the County Council. Luisa Cardona, Assistant Chief Administrative Officer. I am presenting testimony on behalf of the County Executive in support of Expedited Bill 1026, Arts and Humanities Council amended. My portfolio includes Montgomery County Recreation, which manages the county's contract with the Arts and Humanities Council. I'm here to reiterate the importance of the proposed amendments and to express the county's support for both the legislation and the supplemental appropriation before you. The Arts and Humanities Council was established in 1976 under Chapter 5A of the County Code and has served Montgomery County for nearly 50 years as an important partner in supporting arts, nonprofit cultural organizations, and expanding access to arts and humanities programming throughout the county. The Arts and Humanities Council plays a critical role in strengthening our creative economy and enriching the cultural life of the county. At the same time, the structural framework governing this partnership has not been updated in decades. A recent internal audit and subsequent additional review provided an opportunity for the county to reflect on how we can better support the Arts and Humanities Council and our county's arts and humanities community by ensuring that our governance structures, financial and accounting reporting processes, and communication practices are clear, aligned, and fully transparent moving forward. In response, the county has begun working with the Arts and Humanities Council to strengthen reporting practices, improve coordination between the county and the organization, and enhance recreation's contract monitoring capacity. These steps are intended to support a strong collaborative partnership while ensuring the county's investments in the arts continue to be managed with full transparency and accountability. The bill before you is an important part of that effort. It modernizes a nearly 50-year-old governance framework by clarifying the designation of the county's Arts and Humanities Council that manages a distribution of nearly $8 million of county funds. strengthening the role and responsibilities of the Board of Directors and establishing a clear appointment and confirmation process. Importantly, these updates align the Arts and Humanities governance framework with otherly similarly situated private-public partnerships that receive significant county investment, such as MCEDC and BUP. Like those organizations, the proposed structure reinforces strong board oversight, transparency, and accountability while preserving the flexibility needed for the organization to effectively serve the community and support the arts sector. The administration also supports the supplemental appropriation currently before the council in the amount submitted. We understand that the total cost associated with the cultural plan, which the supplemental will support, may be higher, but we request time to really review the accounting and come before you again should that amount need to be amended to fully reimburse the Public Arts Trust. Thank you.
Thank you. This public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to agenda item 3. It's a public hearing on Bill 11-26, Fire and Rescue Service Personnel Amendments. This bill will increase the amount of length of service benefits to certain local fire and rescue department volunteers and generally amend the law regarding local fire and rescue department volunteers. A Public Safety Committee work session is scheduled for March 11, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business today. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have one speaker, and that's Mr. Christopher Jenninson. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Good morning, President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the council. My name is Christopher Jennison, and I am here testifying today on behalf of the Montgomery County Volunteer Fire Rescue Association. I'm also president of the Bethesda Chevy Chase Rescue Squad and serve as a volunteer EMT here in the county as well. Bill 1126 implements terms that were negotiated between the county and MCVFRA in the current agreement covering 2023 through 2026. Specifically, it provides 2-4% adjustments to the length of service award program for eligible volunteers. LOSAP is not a salary, and it is not comparable to a career pension. It is a modest monthly benefit that recognizes long-term volunteer service in the fire and rescue system. In practical terms, volunteers in Montgomery County provide thousands of hours of operational response, training, and standby coverage every year. The volunteer system allows the county to maintain strong emergency response capacity while keeping overall public safety costs significantly lower than they otherwise would be. Programs like LOSAP play an important role in retaining experienced volunteers. Most volunteers balance service with full-time jobs, families, and other obligations. A small benefit that recognizes years of service helps encourage people to stay engaged and involved long enough to build real operational excellence. Bill 1126 simply carries out an agreement that was already reached between the county and the volunteer system. The fiscal impact is relatively modest. The staff report estimates the cost at approximately $110,500 over 6 years. From MCVFRA's perspective, this bill is about stability and predictability. Volunteers rely on the county to honor negotiated agreements, and maintaining those commitments helps sustain the partnership between the county and the volunteer fire rescue departments. On behalf of the MCVFRA, we respectfully ask the council to support Bill 1126. Thank you for your time and for your continued support of the volunteer fire rescue system. Thank you.
Thank you. This public hearing is now closed. Moving on to agenda item 4. It's a public hearing on Bill 12-26, Payment to Providers of Direct Services to Persons with Developmental Disabilities. This bill will amend requirements concerning the formulation of payment to certain service providers for persons with developmental disabilities in the county, amend eligibility criteria to receive payment, and generally amend the law governing the payment to providers of direct services to persons with developmental disabilities. A Health and Human Services Committee work session will be scheduled for a later date. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business on March 19th, 2026. There are no registered speakers for this hearing. This public hearing is now closed. Agenda item 5 is a public hearing on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation 26-59 to the FY26 operating budget, Montgomery County Government, Department of Recreation, Arts and Humanities Council of Montgomery County for $53,788. The source of funds is general funds undesignated reserves. A joint government operations and fiscal policy and education and culture committee work session is scheduled for March 19, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business on March 12, 2026. There are no registered speakers for this hearing. The public hearing is now closed. Now the fun part. The council will now sit as a district council. The first item for this district council's consideration is the introduction remand of local map amendment H-149 regarding the property located in the intersection of Randolph Road and Georgia Avenue, Silver Springs, actually Wheaton, Maryland, as part of Parcel A, Plat number 6337, and Parcel B, Plat number 8065 in the Americana Glenmont subdivision in the Americana Glenmont Apartments subdivision. Action is tentatively scheduled for March 24th, 2026. Ms. Nadeau, do you have any comments?
Sure, just this might look a little familiar to you. The council actually approved this LMA in September 2024. It was appealed to the circuit court, who remanded it back to the hearing examiner, who held a new hearing, at which point the parties settled. So you'll see an amended resolution that includes some additional binding elements, and you will hear from the hearing examiner on March 24th to go through it with you.
Highly aware of this one. Thank you so much. The next, so this item is introduced. So next for introduction, introduction to zoning text amendment ZTA 26-05, expedited approval plan job creation project. I am the lead co-sponsor of this ZTA, and a public hearing is scheduled for June 9, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, I have worked really closely with the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation on this particular item, alongside the beautiful people from the Planning Board and the Planning Department. Thank you so much for all your work. So back in May 2018, I was on the Planning Board, and I remember how we worked on this particular ZTA. It was ZTA 18-05. Uses, use standards, and regulatory approvals, signature business headquarters, which created a use signature business headquarters and provided an expedited approval process for that use. Then, after a while, because when we introduce legislation and ZTAs, we need to understand that our communities evolve, and sometimes we say that we need to amend certain laws or procedures that we had in the previously adopted. So this is one of those cases. So today I'm introducing ZTA 26-05. We'll rename Signature Business Headquarters to Job Creation Project. It will expand the eligibility requirements by allowing this use in additional commercial residential zones, employment zones, and industrial zones. ZTA 26-05 will lower the number of required employees from 20,000 to 200, remove the requirement that it will be the headquarters or primary place of business, require the business to be identified as a strategic industry sector in the current economic development strategic plan, and have received county or state funding or incentives, and provide additional enforcement provisions. A public hearing will be done in June. The reason is because we need to deal with the budget first, guys. That is why. Did I miss anything besides announcing the co-sponsors that perhaps you want to do that?
No, I have nothing to add.
Okay. But I know quite a few people have co-sponsored, yes, including Councilmember Andrew Fritzen and Council Vice President Meryl Balcom and Councilmember Sidney Katz. I see quite a few people on the queue. I'm going to start with Councilmember Lori Sells.
Thank you, Madam President. I think this is a very smart idea, and I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Will Jawando.
Thank you. Yes, also really would like to be added as co-sponsor. Glad we're doing this. I think going to 200 is going to really expand the eligibility. I know a lot of the businesses we went overseas, several of us on trips are in that range, so I'm excited about it. So thank you for introducing it.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. Councilmember Evan Glass.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Permitting reform is something a lot of us are spending a lot of time talking about, and I appreciate you introducing this, and I'd like to be listed as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Council Vice President Marilyn Balcom.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to confirm that I'm a co-sponsor. It's not on the bill as posted.
You're double confirmed. Love it. Councilmember Shara Evans.
I would like to sign on as a co-sponsor as well. I thought I was already on that as well, but yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Keith Stewart.
Yes, I'd like to sign on as a co-sponsor as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Don Lukey.
I thought I was a co-sponsor, but if I'm not, I'm going to do what Marilyn just did, and I'm going to ask to just please double check. Thank you.
Noted. And with that, this ZTA is introduced. Next, we're going to have the final item for the District Council's consideration is the introduction and action on a resolution to extend the public hearing date for zoning text amendment ZTA 26-05 expedited approval plan job creation project to July 28, 2026 for the reasons that I previously explained. Moved by Councilmember Fritzen, second by Councilmember Katz. All those in favor, please raise your hand. This motion passes. Thank you so much. We are going to move on to the semi-annual report. We're joined by our colleagues from the Maryland National Park and Planning Commission for their semi-annual presentation to the council. I'm going to ask them to please come forward, and when they're ready, our Planning Board Chair, Artie Harris, can kick us off.
Morning. We're just going to get the slides ready and we'll be right with you. Are we all set? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning. This morning, as you know, on the agenda, you will have a briefing from the Park and Planning Department on their semi-annual report. This is done twice a year. We always have them come and provide information on the past about 6 months of work that they've been working on and what they expect to see in the next 6 months. You had your last one in the fall. They break it up. I think the chair goes first. You're going to have planning first after the chair, and then parks this time, and there'll be time for questions when we're done. Thank you.
All set on the end there, Chris? Okay, thank you. Good morning, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and council members. Thank you for this opportunity to share highlights of the Planning Board, the Planning Department, and the Park's most recent accomplishments and updates on our ongoing efforts to make Montgomery County the premier destination to invest in, work, play, and thrive. For the record, I'm Artie Harris, Chair of the Montgomery County Planning Board. Before I turn it over to our directors, I just have a few updates to share. Our board serves as the backbone to bring all the pieces together. The expertise of our amazing staff with Parks and Planning, our county residents, and all of our stakeholders. We are working daily to serve as the connective thread between policies, development review, and parks and open space stewardship to ensure the tapestry of our county is strong. We celebrated the opening of the Royce Hanson Conservation Park and the mural installation in Glenmont. We spent an evening celebrating excellence in design throughout the county. We honored our first cohort of the Planning Academy. Thank you for the resources to make that program happen. We celebrated community, our staff, and our dedicated police officers. We opened the county's first disc golf course, which if you haven't visited it, I highly recommend it. We learned about the origins of the Special Olympics as we reviewed timber lawn for inclusion in the Master Plan of Historic Preservation. We also made sure to meet with stakeholders throughout the county, from the Ag Reserve to our downtown core.
We've also been working closely with our partners, including Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, the Historic Preservation, and the Board of Education. We've been supporting our state legislation delegation throughout this legislative session by providing thoughtful and comprehensive review of legislation related to our scope of work. We've had the opportunity to be down in Annapolis a few times this session to testify on critical bills, to share our priorities with the Speaker of the House, and to visit the state capitol and stop by the offices of all of our county delegates. We've been keeping very busy since we last reported out to you. In calendar year 2025, we moved forward on a number of master plans and have a few others working through the board, which Director Sartori will highlight soon. We've approved 44 new plans with an additional 57 amendments approved, together representing 3,100 planned dwelling units and just over 600,000 square feet of commercial space. The Planning Board Office has directly addressed nearly 280 constituent concerns, and our commissioners have heard from over 930 residents and stakeholders during our public hearings. I've also continued convening conversations with my regional counterparts to collaborate and learn from each other. Our next breakfast is scheduled in April. Starting this spring, we'll also be hosting our Growing Smarter in a Changing Climate speaker series. Our first session will be on April 30th and will focus on the financing side of a sustainable development. Future topics will include agrivoltaics and nature-based solutions. We hope you'll be able to join us for these conversations. I'll now turn it over to Director Sartori for his updates.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Good morning, Council President Fanny Gonzalez, Vice President Balcom, and members of the County Council. I'm Jason Sartori, Planning Director, and as always, it is a pleasure to be here to share the good news of the work of the Planning Department and our dedicated staff of public servants. My goal this morning is to present a more visual insight into our work, highlighting some of the activities and people you may not see all that often here at the Council. And intermixed with the photos, I'll provide some additional, more traditional updates. So I'll start here on the left with Brian Crane from our Historic Preservation Division. Brian is our staff archaeologist who maintains the county's burial site inventory and is currently conducting research on sites across the county to identify those that may deserve additional protections afforded by designation to the Master Plan for Historic Preservation. And in this photo, Brian is using a ground-penetrating radar device that records images of the subsurface to help determine the location or the existence of a burial site and the location of specific burials without disturbing the land. This work is highly specialized and really quite fascinating. And the photo on the right is of a recent Historic Preservation Commission meeting. The 9-member HPC meets 24 times per year to review and rule on historic area work permits, approve historic tax credits, and make recommendations to the Planning Board and Council on potential historic designations. I am showing this because our HP team serves as staff to the HPC, presenting and navigating items through the HPC every 2 weeks. The team manages public testimony, coordinates with applicants and their consultants, collaborates with staff from other agencies, prepares and presents staff reports, and when HPC decisions are appealed, our team members will defend the HPC's position to the County Board of Appeals. And to the far left in the photo is Dan Bruckert, who is one of our lead regulatory reviewers. Continuing with the work of our historic preservation staff, I love sharing the uplifting story of the Scotland AME Zion Church. Quite literally, the historic church was lifted up, refurbished, and expanded after suffering from debilitating flooding in 2019. The picture on the left is from the church's grand reopening last year, which many of you attended. This effort would not have been successful without the perseverance of Rebecca Ballo, who's here today. Rebecca worked hand in hand behind the scenes with Reverend Huggins and other church leaders, philanthropists, architects, builders, elected officials, and partners at DOT and parks to raise awareness of the church's plight, chart a path forward, and ensure that this important community asset was restored to its rightful prominence. And on the right, you can see Serena Bollinger leading a discussion with community members at Timberlawn, the home where Eunice Kennedy Shriver began Camp Shriver, the precursor to Special Olympics. The designation process is so much more than document research and report drafting. Community conversations like this occur regularly throughout those efforts. And these are images from an internal charrette that was held last fall to bring staff with diverse perspectives and areas of expertise together to discuss the Eastern Silver Spring Communities Plan. These types of events are highly productive as the team tackles unique master plan challenges that cut across disciplines. These are not staged photos. These are photos from one of the 3 rooms that we had where, I mean, you would think we could stage them, but no, this is live action shots here. So, what we're doing, in these sessions, we brainstorm and draw up ideas, we scrap some of them, we build upon others, and then we come up with more. And on the left, we have Natasha Fahim and Atul Sharma from our Design, Placemaking, and Policy Division, highlighting elements of the New Hampshire Avenue corridor. And then on the right, Atul is capturing feedback from Jenna Gilbert, who's one of our interns, along with Marin Hill from East County Planning and Christina Sasaki from the Parks Department. So while things like an internal charrette can be behind the scenes, our planners need to be able to engage on their master plan efforts on multiple levels, with their colleagues, with agency partners, with property owners, with land use attorneys and developers, and of course with community members with a wide range of interests, priorities, and concerns, not to mention a range of support and even skepticism for our work. So community engagement is an important and foundational part of the work that we do. It's more than just Post-its on a board. It's conversation, it's connection, it's being empathetic and inquisitive to try to understand different stakeholder perspectives. And on the left, we have Atara Margulies from our West County Planning Division leading a discussion in the community on the preliminary recommendations for the Friendship Heights Sector Plan. She was joined at this meeting by a number of our staff, but in the photo you can see urban designer Tyler Milam and schools planner Jesus Beck on the far left. And in the right photo, we have Kayla Prendergast, one of our housing planners at the Long Branch Festival last fall, where our team was talking to residents about the Eastern Silver Spring Plan. And while I'm highlighting images from our master plan efforts, here are status updates on our active master plans. The University Boulevard Corridor Plan has been adopted by the full commission, and the team is currently working on preparing the sectional map amendment, which we anticipate bringing to the board and delivering to the council later this spring. As you know, the Clarksburg Gateway Sector Plan had a full council work session last week and is tentatively scheduled for your action on March 24th. The Eastern Silver Spring Communities Plan, led by the team led by Lauren Stamm, just released the preliminary recommendations last month and will now be taking time to go back out to the community to get feedback on those recommendations. And as you saw on the prior slide, the Friendship Heights Sector Plan team is slightly ahead of Eastern Silver Spring. They're already out engaging community members on preliminary recommendations. And just last month, our Germantown Sector Plan team, led by Jamie Pratt, presented emerging ideas to the Planning Board and expects to release preliminary recommendations next month. The Wheaton Plan is the first in a series of our Georgia Avenue community plans. Having recently planned downtown Silver Spring and Montgomery Hills Forest Glen, we're working our way up Georgia Avenue. Our team is putting the finishing touches on a context analysis that looks at the entirety of Georgia from the DC line to Olney and plans to go to the board to establish the scope of the Wheaton Plan in May. We've not had the resources, unfortunately, both staffing and funding, to begin in earnest the Kensington and Burtonsville plans yet, but we do plan to begin the initial effort on Kensington by the end of this fiscal year, but don't anticipate starting work on Burtonsville until sometime in 2027. So placemaking is a major part of our master planning efforts. And while you are familiar with Montgomery Planning's larger, higher profile placemaking events that occur over a weekend, we are also investing in smaller, more targeted efforts that bring planning concepts directly into neighborhoods. These scaled down projects allow us to connect with communities in meaningful ways while demonstrating how planning works in action and in practice and how public space can be enhanced. Here are concept drawings for placemaking efforts that we are working on for the Eastern Silver Spring Communities Plan. In addition to creating new gathering spaces, these installations will invite community members to provide feedback on the master plan ideas. Planning for an environmentally resilient future involves reforestation, afforestation, and the protection of natural resources throughout the county. Our environmental planning staff are regularly out in the field. They assess and validate natural resources inventory applications to confirm the location and classification of environmental features on a property. Those NRI applications are required before any development application is submitted. And as I'll show you later, we reviewed 71 NRIs in 2025, each requiring our staff to make site visits. Our forest inspection staff, like Stephen Peck here in the left image and Kara Farthing in the right image, are also out in the field on a daily basis, ensuring compliance with forest conservation plans and issuing violation notices as applicable. Also, in 2025, our Reforest Montgomery team helped plant over 2,700 total trees, 163 shrubs, and nearly 11 acres of forest across the county. In 2025, we conducted 17 climate assessments for 14 ZTAs and 3 master plans. These amounted to 106 pages of climate assessments. You can scan the QR code on this slide for more information on our climate assessment process and to access all of the ones that we've completed. When we do these, we evaluate climate factors from 2 different perspectives. The first, which you see on the screen here, is for community resilience and adaptive capacity, and the second is for greenhouse gas emissions and sequestration. When applicable, we also utilize an extensive third tool that helps us assess the quantitative impact on climate. Once the evaluation is complete, the planners from our Environment and Climate Division prepare the report that you are familiar with. The tool shown here was updated last in June of last year. We're required to evaluate the tools we use every 2 years, and so the next time we will do that and potentially make updates is in FY27. Also, one of the things that we hope to do better in the future is assess climate impacts and considerations throughout our master planning efforts to better inform our plan recommendations rather than just assess them at the end. These here are photos from our information counter on the 2nd floor of our headquarters in Wheaton. Our team here is often the first point of contact for the public and plays a vital customer service role for residents, the development community, and anyone seeking to understand what they can and can't do on their property. These photos show Russell Corbin and Athena Skoufias from our information services team as they answer questions, explain requirements, and help navigate complex processes. I'll tell you, this group has some of the most knowledgeable staff in the department. They are required to understand the entire breadth of work that we're doing at planning, and so that they can provide clear, accurate, and helpful guidance to people who come in. Providing access to information and empowering community members to participate in planning efforts is a major part of the equity initiatives at the planning department. I'm proud to say that since we last spoke to you in the fall, we have taken an enormous step forward in this regard when we fully launched the Community Planning Academy last December. This photo shows Deputy Director Bridget Breuer on the left and Khalid Afzal, our lead for equity initiatives, on the right, meeting with the East County Citizens Advisory Board. This was one stop on the department's recent roadshow, visiting CABs and other boards to raise awareness for the program. So here is a quick status update on the Academy. As of today, 463 county residents have registered. 91 of those have started the course, and 12 people have already completed all 10 modules. We have 2 graduations scheduled, one in June and another in January, and we'll be sure to share details of those as we get closer so that you and your staff can help celebrate with our graduates. We also have a field trip planned in April. These provide current participants an opportunity to get a behind-the-scenes tour of a recently completed development project to see how the planning process fully plays out. And this slide also shares feedback that we've gotten from current participants. I think these data demonstrate a measure of success, but more importantly, we are already seeing participants become more actively engaged in our efforts. For instance, 2 current participants are actively serving as liaisons for us to neighborhoods in the Wheaton community. And the QR code on this slide will bring you to the registration page for the Academy, so please continue to share this with your constituents. Our work at the department and across the planning field is constantly evolving. We keep up to keep up, we need to make sure that we are active in professional development. Our staff participate in training initiatives hosted by the Commission, take online tutorials to develop specific technical skills, attend conferences and webinars hosted by industry leaders, complete quarterly cybersecurity training to keep our resources and information safe, and we take our own field trips. So in the photo on the right, you can see department staff visiting the residences at Forest Glen. Visits like this allow us to see firsthand how projects we reviewed came to fruition, to better understand what's feasible, what worked, what didn't work, what can we transfer to other projects that we're reviewing. And we also take our role in training the next generation of planners seriously. We host a number of school year and summer interns, many of whom come back to serve as full-time employees after graduating. In fact, I was a planning department intern over 20 years ago myself. On the left, our team is meeting with students from the University of Maryland's PALS program who are working with us on a semester-long project as part of an instructor-led studio course. Here, our GIS team transforms complex data and recommendations into interactive map-based solutions that are intuitive and informative. These tools make planning information more accessible and transparent for residents, agencies, and decision makers. GIS plays a critical role in helping Montgomery Planning understand growth, equity, infrastructure, environmental conditions, and more. On the left, we have our GIS manager, Chris McGovern, demonstrating a mapping tool, and on the right, we have Colin McNamara and Luke Savonis from our Research and Strategic Projects Division reviewing an analysis of Down County zoning. Actually, I wanted to highlight a new report published by our research team, the Community Trends Report, which, by the way, has the greatest image, I think, of the county map on the right there, showing areas with images from each of those areas. This report is our most comprehensive county-wide study of small geographic areas in the county to date. It provides robust, locally specific information that helps people understand how conditions vary across communities and over time. The report presents 37 geographic profiles, each 9 to 10 pages long, featuring key land use, demographic, and housing indicators organized around 3 themes of place, people, and housing. There are 2 ways that you can check out the Community Trends Report. By scanning the QR code on this slide, you can download the complete PDF document of the report. That's what you see, the screenshots on the left. Or you can explore an interactive web map that has all of the same information. Shifting gears, Montgomery Planning works closely with interagency partners to advance shared county goals through daily collaboration. And we do this in numerous settings. Together, we ensure that planning and implementation efforts are aligned and responsive to real on-the-ground conditions and result in more effective and coordinated solutions. So on the left, you see our Transportation Planning Division staff reviewing and discussing design features with the MCDOT Development Review Team, the DPS Right-of-Way Team, and DPS inspectors. And on the right, Deputy Director Robert Cronenberg is seen presenting just last week at the annual DPS Stakeholders Forum. Our work goes hand in hand with many county agencies, and we regularly depend on each other to share our expertise. Speaking of interagency coordination, it is especially visible through our Development Review Committee meetings, which are held every 2 weeks, including one right at this very moment. The DRC is an interagency forum that brings together representatives from public agencies and utilities to meet with development applicants, to review their projects, ask questions, and share coordinated comments for consideration. The meetings are recorded and open to the public to attend and observe. Speaking of applications, I did want to provide an update on 2025 development activity. In total, we reviewed 982 applications last calendar year. You'll see that the largest share was HOPs, the historic area work permits that I mentioned earlier. Our team of 3 reviewers processed 270 unique HOPs last year, in addition to 134 historic tax credits and 42 federal Section 106 reviews. In addition to the 71 NRIs that I mentioned earlier, our environmental staff reviewed 84 forest conservation plans and 142 forest conservation exemptions. And our regional teams led the review of 5 sketch plans, 15 administrative subdivisions, 44 preliminary plans, and 39 site plans. They were joined by our Transportation Planning Division in reviewing 20 mandatory referrals among other plans and record plats. And I wanted to highlight one expedited approval plan. This was our first mixed income housing community plan that the board approved last April. It was 64 days after the application was accepted. Tevis Place, yes, very exciting. Tevis Place, also a little stressful, I will admit. The 64 days is really, thank you. Tevis Place is a project on Neville Street in North Bethesda that will include 154 1, 2, 3, and 4-bedroom units, all of which will be MPDUs affordable to households earning 30 to 70% of the area median income. Not on this chart is our first commercial to residential reconstruction expedited approval plan, which was approved by the board in January of this year. We are currently, I will tell you, in conversations with up to 6 other applicants exploring potential commercial to residential reconstruction projects. Also, late last year, following our development pipeline analysis, we rebranded and revamped our approval database into the Development Tracker, which is shown here. This site, which can be accessed by scanning this QR code, tracks every project that has at least a preliminary plan approval. In total, we have over 27,000 units with at least some planning approval and 13,500 units with all the planning approvals needed to move on to secure financing and apply for a building permit. Shifting gears again, in today's online environment where ransomware attacks, phishing campaigns, and other breaches regularly disrupt public services, Montgomery Planning staff play a critical role in protecting the county's systems and ensuring continuity of operations. Shown on the screen here are a couple of the tools that our cybersecurity team actively uses to scan files and links, to block malicious content before it reaches users, and to provide comprehensive, real-time visibility into threats across our environment. Through monitoring and innovation, our IT staff strengthens our ability to detect emerging risks, respond quickly, and keep essential services secure and available for the community on a daily basis. And finally, last semi-annual, I talked to you about our strategic plan that we are actively implementing. We remain committed to our 5 top priorities of our employees, the communities we serve, efficiency, innovation, and leadership. We've been focused on modernizing our organization, improving our processes, aligning our work with Thrive, enhancing community engagement, strengthening our data and analysis, and investing in our workforce and culture. Our chiefs and supervisors are regularly tracking progress on the 149 strategic plan actions, and we plan to report our progress to the Planning Board this September. And my last 2 slides include the updated work program charts, which were included in your packet and which reflect the current status and expected timelines of our efforts, including coordination with Ms. Dunn on timing of delivery to the council given the upcoming election schedule. Our team is here and happy to discuss any of the projects in the work program if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Figueredo.
Thank you and good morning, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the County Council. I'm happy to be here to present the Spring 2026 Parks Department Semi-Annual. Before I get started, I do want to mention that I have here with me, of course, some park staff, but in particular, Chief Lakeisha Robinson, who was recently appointed Park Police Chief. Very happy to have her on board. She was acting chief since last June, I believe. And before that, she worked in Montgomery Park Police, was a captain. And before that was on the other side of our agency with the Prince George's Park Police. So I'm sure you'll all get an opportunity to work with her and get to know her. So when I present the semi-annual, I often try to build it around a theme. And in the past, it's sometimes been behind the scenes or a detailed view of the scope of our work and our responsibility. But this time I want to talk about outreach and engagement and give some examples of how we do this as it relates to specific projects and programs, because we do take outreach and engagement very seriously. And by that, I mean we give it a lot of thought. We've created a flexible template that establishes a framework for engagement based on the scope and scale of a project, because we know that the first thing that you need to do is understand what your outreach and engagement goals are. And that really depends on the project. Sometimes it's about notification and sharing information. And sometimes at the other end of the spectrum, we're doing deep work to find out what people need and what their concerns and priorities are. So I'm going to talk about some of the ways we do that are not conventional or traditional and go beyond public meetings, because we do use a lot of different tools. So I don't need a survey to know how I feel about portable toilets, but they're necessary because our own surveys tell us that access to restrooms is one of the top priorities for park users. They're a significant investment, so we have to be very deliberate about where we put them and how we operate them. And that's why the department is conducting a countywide online survey on restroom facilities. It's a 5-minute survey because we know people don't want to spend 20 minutes completing a survey that'll actually result in a lower return rate. And so far, we've had an incredible response. As of early March, over 1,200 people had taken the survey. It doesn't close until April 15th, so we're going to get a really big return. And this is part of a multi-year effort to evaluate our current restroom inventory and the condition of these restrooms and identify where we need to make improvements. Since 2024, Parks has been collecting data, including the maintenance cost of restrooms, and community engagement began last fall with some pop-up events. And after the survey closes, we're going to do some more pop-up events. About a week and a half ago, we held an event at Johnson's Local Park to celebrate the unveiling of some historic markers and a listening post. This project is part of our Untold Stories program, and staff, led by Elena Guarinello, worked very closely with the Emery Grove community for over a year to review documents, photos, collect oral histories, and create the materials that document the history of this park as a landmark in Black baseball. It was home to the premier Black-owned baseball league in the county, and it was a really important community gathering space. So we're very grateful to this community for sharing this rich history with us. This project would not have happened without them, but now park visitors will have the opportunity to learn more about what happened here. But our work commemorating the history of Black baseball and softball goes well beyond Johnson's Park. From the early 1900s to the 1970s, nearly all of the African American kinship communities in the county had their own baseball and softball teams. Doing this research gives us an opportunity to connect with the people who live all over the county and can share more about this history. This can be an opening for addressing other issues. For example, not just the history of these historic kinship communities, but also what life was like in the Jim Crow era in Montgomery County. To launch this project, we held a public meeting on February 2nd, and we're casting a very wide net seeking participation and input, and of course, photos, documents, and oral histories. We do have some ideas about how the project could take shape. For example, we imagine sharing the history with park patrons through interactive displays, signage, programs, community events, and more. But how it involves will be shaped by stakeholder input. So far, we have 22 participants, including former players, their descendants, and other community leaders. And people interested in getting involved can fill out a form on the project page. The Planning Board recently approved an update to our athletic field policy, which was last updated in 2013. Our goal was to improve equity and access to permitted athletic fields. As you know, we do have field capacity issues. Our demand for fields exceeds the supply, so we need to ensure that we are allocating this very valuable public resource fairly and equitably. Before bringing the policy update to the Planning Board, the department conducted outreach for almost a year, and that included engaging athletic field permit holders to give feedback that helped us guide the changes. And some of this outreach included an online survey, focus groups, and several in-person pop-up events in parks to collect input in real time from field users. We collected feedback ultimately from over 100 users, including league representatives, and the new policy does reflect this input, and it made changes to our priority use policy to make it more equitable, and we increased penalties for ghost permitting, which is permitting a field but not using it. The policy is going to be implemented in the fall of 2027 to give the leagues time to prepare. This is something they asked for. And along with these updated policies, we're also looking for other ways to increase our field capacity, but it is a challenge. If you don't already follow us on the social media channels, I highly encourage you to. Our primary platforms, of course, are Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, but we're on other platforms as well. And we have a newsletter that reaches close to 60,000 subscribers. Our social media team's approach is to be newsworthy, stay up top with trends, keep our posts engaging and shareable. And this is a great example of what we're trying to do. Here we need to communicate very important information about deer safety during the rut. So on the left here, you can see a traditional informational post. It's very utilitarian. And on the right is the same message. It's a serious message, but here you see we have tin deer. And Derek has his profile up. He's looking for, a hookup of some kind. Again, the idea is we want you to see this, laugh, but also take in the information. A couple of years ago, we revamped our CIP engagement and we established a hearing in front of the planning board at the outset of our biennial CIP process so that the community has an opportunity to share with us at the front end what they'd like to see more of in our capital budget. This fall, we had over 500 participants in person, virtually, and online, and comments as well. There is a strong preference for online participation. I think this reflects people's busy schedules. In response, we are expanding flexible engagement options so we can meet people where they are. You can see on the left, it's a little bit small, that some of the top priorities we heard about were shade and seating, trails, and courts. And I also want to update you on the work of our partners at the Montgomery Parks Foundation. In 2025, the foundation raised about $700,000 from almost 900 passionate park patrons to support the greatest needs of the park system. They also sold 40 memorial benches, raising $166,000. And they raised $120,000 to support educational and historical enhancements at Royce Hansen Conservation Park. And we also welcomed Brooks Hansen, Royce's son, to the foundation's board. So we like to keep it all in the family at Parks. And they launched a new merch store where you can order things like our very popular Thanksgiving Day Parade sweatshirts, totes and mugs, onesies, and of course the proceeds for these sales also go to benefit parks, and you can look really cool while you're doing it. In 2025, our program access team launched 2 new Meaningful Day initiatives for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, our Campfire Chats, which is a social club, and Therapeutic Bocce, which we developed in partnership with the Maryland Special Olympics. Our team created these Meaningful Day programs in collaboration with caregivers and providers who told us they wanted more to do in parks, and they were looking for engaging but structured activities for individuals with disabilities that help them build social skills and confidence and connection. Our cleanup programs are also an important outreach and engagement tool for us, and we also get a lot of work done. These are images from our MLK Service Day cleanup at Northwest Branch Stream Valley Park this past January. Almost 70% of the cleanups we did this year were in equity focus areas. And as a result of recent program enhancements we received, we now have 2 dedicated full-time staff members who work on our park cleanup program. They deliver a lot of value. In addition to the almost 130,000 pounds of trash they removed last year, this was about a $444,000 value to the Parks Department, which is the equivalent of about 6 full-time staff. And our Weed Warrior volunteers also are an important engagement tool for us, and they help us save our parks from these non-native invasive plants you can see here. Last year, over 2,000 volunteers contributed almost 14,000 hours. Again, this came out to almost $500,000 of value, or again, the equivalent of 6 full-time staff. And they saved 18,000 trees and shrubs. And just so you know, the top non-native invasive we tackled last year was porcelain berry. That's the same as the year before, followed by Multiflora Rose and Oriental Bittersweet. The new disc golf course at Northwest Branch is also the direct result of community engagement. This sport grew in popularity during the pandemic when, of course, people were looking for outdoor activities that they could do at a safe social distance. And it's an easy game for people of all ages to learn, and it's basically free. You just need to buy or borrow the discs. It was recommended in our 2022 pros plan that we add a disc golf course to the system. There's only one other public disc golf course in Montgomery County. That's at Seneca Creek State Park. There's one at Calvert Road Park in Prince George's County. So this one fills a geographic service gap between the two courses. Signs are an important way we share information, but you really have to work to get it right. This image here is from Ray's Meadow, and it illustrates perfectly a challenge we have in parks with sign clutter. I count 11 signs. One of them is kind of facing sort of the wrong way inexplicably. And at some point, people just stop reading these signs. So we lack a standardized logic for sign placement. It results in inconsistent decisions by park staff because historically, signs have been added in a reactive way. So we'll get a complaint about something or we'll see something's an issue, and we'll say, oh, well, we'll just put up a sign and problem solved. And it just really overwhelms the park. It doesn't consider the park aesthetics. It's not consistent with our branding. And essentially, you know, people just stop paying attention. So now we have a new sign manual that we developed. It establishes a clear, cohesive system for sign placement, design, and messaging. It's going to replace our cluttered reactive signage with something that reflects our brand. It looks nice and it more effectively conveys necessary information. So when I was last here during the fall 2025 semi-annual, I shared that this project was underway. In addition to all the ways that residents reach out to us and we reach out to them, sometimes things come to us through council members. This is one example. This one came through Council Member Friedson's office, but we've heard from all your offices over the years. Porky the litter eater here has made his, he first made his debut in 1966. Over the years, he has become a quirky part of Montgomery County history. He's equal parts a nostalgic mascot and sort of a bizarre legend. This recent restoration was headed up by our very talented exhibit shop led by Chris Ye. He's there on the left. They brightened up the base. They repainted his pig face. They refreshed his little nameplate, and they also restored his strange voice, ensuring he's going to keep greeting families for many years to come. Multiple trade shops contributed to this, our in-house carpenters, masons, painters, and electricians. The project was also funded through our new Parks Facelift program, and we got a little social media mileage out of it as well. So thanks for the feedback. But just a couple of things that are coming soon. We are opening Ovid Hazen Wells Rec Park. We're really excited about that. We don't have dates yet for Bottle Works, but that should be this spring. The Northwest Branch Disc Golf is currently open, but we're also going to have a ribbon cutting for that as well. I also wanted to update you on the status of the former Potomac Horse Center site. Demolition of the existing failing structures is tentatively scheduled for this spring and summer. We're hoping to have the permits in hand by the end of the month. Some immediate improvements we're making to open the park include a trailhead, a loop trail. We're hoping to build these during the summer after the demo. And the site is also going to be evaluated for future afforestation and a meadow planting. And I think we're going to need to pick a new name, so stay tuned because this will also be an opportunity for more community engagement. And here's some events to mark your calendars for, including, of course, the first Saturday in May. The third year we're doing Sligo Fest. Last year we had 10,000 attendees. Hopefully this year will be even bigger, and I hope to see you all there. And I also want to close out honoring Mary Walls Harley. We at the Parks Department miss her very much. I know some of you were very close to her as well. She leaves behind such a legacy. She served for years as the director of the Parks Department in Prince George's and then served on the Montgomery County Planning Board. She was such a resource for the Parks Department. She always guided us with wisdom and with grace. After her service on the Planning Board, she joined the Parks Foundation because she loved parks so much, and Montgomery Parks was part of her. She had us all under her wing. When she retired from the Planning Board, we did create the Mary Walls Harley Dream Camp Scholarship Fund. So that's a wonderful way to continue honoring her legacy. That fund supports kids who might not otherwise be able to afford attending summer camps. So I don't know if you wanted to add to that as well.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mitty. So I've been with the commission for 10 years now, and when I first started, Mary was still serving on our planning board. In those 10 years, we talk a lot about one commission and the importance of collaboration, but it really wasn't until Mary's funeral a couple weeks back where I really felt the family impact of the commission, to be honest. It was unbelievably moving and a true tribute to her legacy across the two counties. There were people there from the commission from both Prince George's and Montgomery County. We had, I think, I counted 11 current or former planning board members there. It was just really, really moving, and I walked away feeling this, the legacy that she leaves behind of more than 40 years of working for the commission was really, it was really strong.
And on a personal note, because she was a tough customer, and she was kind, but she was, she held you to account. She was on the committee that interviewed me when I was becoming the deputy director, and she asked me some very tough questions, and I always felt like I had to come correct for Mary. So I'll never forget that.
Yes, so thank you so much. It's always a pleasure also to be with our great directors, and welcome to our new police chief. And so we're here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the Park and Planning Commission for the excellent work. I don't want to get emotional because I see Mary right in front of me right now. I was at the funeral too, and as you mentioned, it was one commission as it always should be. And I'm not gonna say anything else because I'm not great. So I'm gonna couple of things before I turn it to colleagues. First of all, with the amazing new Park Police Chief, Lakeisha Robinson, thank you so much for your work. Before she actually got the gig and was acting, she was already engaged with all of us, at least with me in my district. One of the first things that we did together was the bike ride that I've been helping out for the past, I would say 2 years at this point. The third one is coming up. And when I went to the Park Police and I said, okay, can you guys help us? Because we need to ensure that since we have so many children involved in this bike ride, that kids feel safe crossing the street to get to Sligo. And so she responded right away. And I think that speaks highly of your intentions of really making sure that you are known in that community. And I thank you for that. And members of the Park Police do speak highly of you because I've had quite a few conversations with different folks, and they're all very proud of having you as their chief. So thank you so much for that. And then on the initiative that you have with the African American baseball players that you're saying, I was recently at the Scotland Black History Month celebration. I was there with Council Member Will Jawondo, and one of the displays that they had was actually highlighting Black baseball players. And I think you should reach out to them because they have lots of photos. And then on the signs, I love that you're updating all the display signs that you have. Make sure that, and this always happens with the Spanish one, not just within the Park and Planning Commission, but also happens with the county and the state. Always misspelling words in Spanish. And the one that you show, they have I saw 3 signs, all of them were with
had grammar errors, and I had to say it. So if you want another set of eyes before you print, you can call me. More than happy to help you. And then I really love that this year in particular, you spoke highly, both park and planning, but especially planning, about the people behind all the work, and really those folks we don't usually see in front of us, but who are the heart of the commission. I want to thank you for doing that. Honestly, I think it's the first time that ever happens, having spending so much time just focused on that. And I think I find the value of that. And then with the planning board chair, Harris, thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing with your board. And I look forward to the continued partnership. With that, I'm going to leave it there because we only have we have 45 minutes. So please keep it short and sweet, because I think that almost everybody wants to speak, which is great, but I'm just going to say that right now. We're going to start with the chair of the PHP committee, Chair Andrew Friedson. Go ahead.
Thank you. I will be brief since we get a lot of time to go over a lot of your work program. Just wanted to note a couple things. First is, since you noted in her blessed memory, Mary Wells Harley, I just wanted to express my appreciation for all the staff. That's what she would have wanted. That's what she would have said. That's how she would have started her comments. And so I want to invoke her, and we're all sending her and her family our thoughts and our prayers. And it's certainly a huge loss for our entire community, but particularly for the Parks Department. I just want to express my appreciation for all of the hardworking staff of the Park and Planning Commission. It hasn't been easy over these last several years and the challenges that you all have faced, but the staff has been the constant throughout all of this, and our community has benefited greatly from it. So thank you to those who are in the room, and especially those who aren't, since a lot of the folks who work the toughest jobs with the most difficult hours are not here. And we hope they might not be watching because they're working, but hope they know that we all appreciate you very, very greatly. I did want to note the Porky dynamic. I'm glad you showed the picture because I don't think you can appreciate it unless you see the picture. We could talk about all of the amazing new parks and new facilities and new approvals, but I fundamentally believe if government wants to prove that we can do big things, we have to prove that we can get the small things and get them done right. And this is a good example. We had a number of folks complain. We reached out about it. It really doesn't make you feel good when you go to a place and things look run down. And it was fixed. It was fixed in a very quick way. And I can't tell you how many positive comments we received. It's one of the few opportunities in local government where we got more positive feedback after the solution than we got negative comments about the problem. And people really noticed it. It was immediate. It was one small change that made a big impact on a significant investment that you have. And I grew up feeding Porky, so this was very important to me on a personal level. I want to lift up the black baseball efforts in Johnson's local park, which we just had a conversation about in committee. Want to continue with those efforts and appreciate the fact that we're going to put that as a standalone and continue to advocate for state funding and see what we can do at the local level. I want to acknowledge Councilmember Lukey for her work on that, and actually really Councilmember Reamer who put this in motion when he was serving on the council. This was a major passion project for him. But I did want to specifically note the Scotland Eagles, which is what the council president was noting. Edgar Dove, who's now a living legend, but he's Uncle Eddie to many. He was a Scotland Eagle, so he would be a good person to reach out to just to follow up on the council president's point. And you certainly can reach him through me if you want to follow up, or certainly through your Scotland community contacts I know you're working really closely with, and I want to express my appreciation for that as well, and the work that you're doing in other kinship communities as well with the intentional work. So thank you for that. And then on the planning side, just want to really appreciate and glad you noted the Neville Street project, which is just a fantastic project. We, are challenged to get 3 bedrooms, and now we have 4 bedrooms in this project. I mean, 64 days is exactly what we were looking for and what we were hoping for. And I am really excited about what we're going to be able to do. We just passed an update to expand that effort to allow more projects to qualify it under the mixed income zoning text amendment that Councilmember Sales and I put forward, and that proves why it matters. I mean, that's real money and real impact that we can put to work. So just really excited about that, and it's serving that 30 to 70 AMI, and then really excited about the office to residential conversions that we're starting to see. We have a really challenged real estate market right now for a lot of reasons, some self-imposed and some macroeconomic that we can't control. This is the one area where we're actually seeing some significant interest and movement on those who want to invest, want to build housing, want to move forward in Montgomery County. So really appreciate your work and your efforts on that, and just appreciate the thoughtfulness that the planning department has put forward on making updates, both working with the council president on her proposal and working with my office and me on our Accelerate MoCo proposals to expand the aggressive prioritization of getting projects to be cheaper, faster, and easier to move forward, because we want people to invest in Montgomery County. We want people to build housing in Montgomery County. We want people to create jobs in Montgomery County, and appreciate the partnership in moving those efforts forward. It didn't start that way. There was some concern that it was going to be too hard to achieve that 64 days, but it always seems impossible until it's done. And now you've shown that it can be done if you prioritize it and focus on it and make it happen, and if we work together to ensure that it does. So thank you for that. Express my appreciation. I will yield back.
Thank you. Councilmember William.
Thank you very much. Kind of worked out. The PHP folks went first, so that's always, it was by accident, but not. Thank you for all your work, both parking and planning. Thank you for the update. I always look forward to these updates with the pictures. I always think of Mike Riley's. You've been trained well on the picture usage, both of you, particularly on parks, but I think it's rubbed off on both of you. Congrats, Chief Robinson. Really excited to have you in. You come after another great chief, and Chief McSwain, and we wish him well. So really excited for you. I did want to ask just two questions, one of parks and one of planning. I know there was an update, and I think this hopefully gives you an opportunity to share some good news, but I know we're not quite there on Little Falls Parkway. I get asked about it a lot. I know you get asked about it a lot. It was an update last month. Could you just talk about where we are with that project?
We're at substantial completion with Little Falls Parkway, but the weather that we had this winter kind of slowed some things down. So what's left to do is a little bit of pavement work still on the northbound lanes. Some of the light work, relocating the lights, still needs to be done. A little bit of the striping and some of the thermoplastic markings, but that's it. Cars are driving on it. It's functionally almost complete, and we're hoping that with this good weather, we can wrap that up in the next week or two. Awesome. Thank you for that. That's really good to hear. I know that has been a point of frustration for everybody, but I'm glad that we're where we are. A suggestion too for you on the parks. I know we have had this in PHP, but I think one of the, when you ask people what they love about Montgomery County, it's schools and parks, or parks and schools, and then I always like throw libraries in there. They're close. Planning's close, right? I don't know, but sure. At least you're part of the team, right? So yeah, exactly. But I think a big part of that is the usage, and one of the things that I know we've been focused on in the past is who's using our parks and facilities. And I think as part of the semi-annuals, it would be really good to just update, just to talk about that. We hear about it sometimes in committee, but that's always a thing, right? Like, I talk about this, like, we have so many great things going on, but it's a continual effort. And kind of your presentation speaks to what you're doing to outreach, but I think just any update you want to share now or as we go forward of like how we're measuring who's using it and then how we're driving towards to a continued expansion, if that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. I would be happy to come back with some more of that data. We've been trying to work on how we just generally can count and measure the people in our parks. That's really hard to do outside of specific programs, but we've been trying. And an exciting thing that's coming up, you hear me a lot of times refer to our 2022 PROS plan and the survey that we did as part of that plan, which was a survey that got over 800 participants and was absolutely demographically representative of the county. And that's a survey which, and this is related to what you were just saying, Councilmember Jawando, when we queried the survey participants about what their top 3 priorities are in a place to live, it was schools, parks, and public safety in terms of what their priorities are, what they want to see in where they live. We are going to be redoing this survey as part of the upcoming 2027 PROS plan. And I'm hoping and expecting that the survey will be even better than the last survey and that we'll get an even larger participation number on that and that it will be demographically representative. And that is, again, and that is really good information. Maybe not precisely what you're talking about in terms of who's using our parks, but certainly what the people who use our parks want to see in our parks and what they value. But thank you for that feedback, and we'll come back with more of that.
Yeah, and I know it's not an exact science, but just like what you're trying to do, what you have, what data you do have, I just think it's something we need to constantly be pushing ourselves. And then planning, I've talked about this for years, and I think we've been trending in the right direction, but use of consultants versus your staff, right? Like we've put a lot on you to speed timelines up, as we were just talking about, right? To move things quicker. How is that balance going? How are you feeling about that? Because at one point we were doing a lot of consultants. We still have to for some things, but versus your staff.
Yeah, it's kind of a delicate balance, and it varies project to project, and depending on the expertise that we have on our team. So for things like master plans, when we were doing a lot of the door-to-door canvassing, that's something that is, we do for a discrete period of time, and we don't necessarily have the staff to be able to do that. So we'll bring people on to help us out with things like that. So we look at, when there's an advantage to be gained by bringing in people with a particular skill set, or, it could be some of the research that we're doing, some of the stuff that we've done on the historic preservation side. If we can bring people in to initiate some of the research that we need to do. But we kind of, it's a delicate balance. But, we would love more opportunities to bring on more staff to be able to support the work that we're doing, rather than having to bring in consultants where we can.
Well, I know we usually talk about during the budget too, so we'll get into that. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilmember Keith Stewart.
Great. Thank you. So glad to see you all today. First, Chair Harris, thank you for your leadership on the planning board, and please thank all of your colleagues. We very much appreciate all of the work that you do. First on planning, I'm super excited about Neville and all the projects and the expedited reviews that are moving forward. And we also know that 64 days, while you can do it, is fast. And so I'm glad that we're coming up with new ways of expedited approvals, but also keep in contact with us because I think this lends us here in Montgomery County to having a great reputation that projects, can get done quickly and help people get to building. But we also want to make sure that you all have what you need to get that done. So appreciate that work and excited about the projects. Also just want to say very excited about the Eastern Silver Spring Plan and the work that your team is doing on that. And also the idea of, and I believe this is the first plan you're doing this with, is kind of releasing a preliminary plan first to bring out to the public to get more feedback before it goes to the final plan. And I just want to say I appreciate the work that's being done to make sure that the community is really brought along throughout the whole process, not just engaging at the beginning and then months later getting the plan. And I'm looking forward to see how that goes. And from what I've seen already, it's a very exciting plan. One thing to build on the Planning Academy and the other work, and this is to kind of put in your head for the future. We all know now, because we hear this, even though we are not the Board of Education, but there is a lot of anxiety in our community right now because of the boundary studies and other things that are going on. And all of our offices get lots of questions about how's this measured? When is this project coming through? And I know you all and the Board of Education are really working hard to get that information out there to people, to clarify terms, when things are in the pipeline, when they get counted, and for what purpose. But building on the success of the Planning Academy, which I do think is a huge success, and other tools that you all have delivered, I would just ask that, keeping in mind when we're thinking about planning for our schools, are there ways that we can build on those successes to provide information to us and to the public as these conversations are happening, so that we are all working off of the same information and definitions and terms and things? I think it would be really helpful. Yeah.
If I could, thank you. So really appreciate all those comments. With regard to MCPS, we just had a joint board meeting between our board and the Board of Education. We do this every year. And it's recorded, it's available for people to watch. I think it was a great conversation. It demonstrated, for me, I've been at the schools thing for a long time. Before I was with planning, as an advocate in my community, as a PTA leader in my neighborhood. I have to say, this is the best collaboration I've ever seen between planning and MCPS. And I really appreciate the effort that everyone on both sides is putting into this. When I say that, we recently, a few years ago, we signed an MOU that talks about how we collaborate around things like master plans and school projects, and we're living by that MOU, and it's really great. Data sharing, we do data sharing. There is some, information that needs to be, out there about what a projection is versus what a student generation rate is, and we try to kind of keep, that clear. But we really appreciate the relationship with them, and we'll continue to try to work to improve that.
Great. Thank you. On parks, I don't need a survey on restrooms either. And I think I might have been one of the first 5 people to fill out the survey and to push it out to our folks. So glad you're getting lots of feedback, and looking forward to more on that. The park facelift program, I just want to say thank you. For in my district, seeing what little improvements, like Councilmember Friedson said, goes such a long way. And the urban park in Tacoma Park looks terrific. So and I know that has been one that we have pestered a lot about that, and just giving that a facelift. So I do think that program is working really, really well. And I also just want to do a shout out as we're getting to the spring. And I know the folks will be out there doing maintenance on the paths, and how much I appreciate that, and all the work seeing them out there. And just want to say congratulations to Chief Robinson as well. Looking forward to continuing the partnership, particularly in the Long Branch area. Just really thankful for all your work. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Sidney Katz.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you all for your report and all that you do. And thank you for your tribute to Commissioner Mary Wales Harley. I always feel compelled to mention that my district, the 3rd District, is probably the least directly, and I always underline the word directly, impacted by your work, because Rockville, Gaithersburg, and Washington Grove have their own departments. But of course, anything that happens in one part of Montgomery County affects all parts of Montgomery County. So, and to the discussion that you just had about MCPS and the planning, thank you for doing, and thank you for having a better dialogue. And please remember to keep Air Municipal Partners involved in that, because that's been part of the issue over the years. So we thank you. Chair Harris, on your slide, I think it was 3,100 residential units have been approved. Was that
correct?
Could you, and you don't have to do it off the top of your head, but Could you break that down to how many are single family, how many are townhouses, how many are multifamily? We keep hearing that we're not getting any multifamily approvals, but if there are approvals involved in that, that would be helpful to let everyone know.
Yeah, there are some multifamily approvals in that, and we can do the numbers and get back to you with the exact distribution, but there were also a lot of single-family townhomes in those approvals too. But we can get back with you with the actual number and breakdown within a few days.
And I appreciate that. And it would be fine if you let others, I mean, if you send out a press release saying what we have and haven't done, because there is a lot of communication and, as always, miscommunication on these topics.
Yeah, thank you.
And on your list, I think you had 8 different master plans. Obviously, you've been kept busy in various stages of development and what they are. If I think it would be helpful if you would have a chart that says this is not, once something's been approved or where you are in the master plan process, what is working, what is not working, what has happened with it, and to the programs as well. If we could see what is being successful, and if something is not being successful, how we could tweak it to make it successful as a partnership. And I did want to mention that I did have the pleasure of going to Johnson Park, I guess it was last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago. And Councilmember Lukey and Councilmember Sales were there as well, with my good buddy Delegate Wims, who he and I went to elementary school right next to where the park is. Brought back a ton of memories. And thank you all so very much for doing things just like that. That was a great event. It was truly, I knew Emery Grove when urban renewal came through with, I think they meant to do well, it just didn't do well. And now it's finally coming back, I guess, after some 50 years or whatever it is. So I thank you for doing that. And I continue to thank you for everything that you're doing. Montgomery County needs to be planned in a way that we're successful. And of course, there's days that we are successful and days that we need as much help as we can get. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. Council Vice President Marilyn Malcolm.
Thank you all. I want to say my thank yous before I say my pleases. So I just wanted to thank not only Chair Harris and Director Sartori and Figueroa, but to thank everybody who's here and not here, because the teams are so fantastic, not only the work that you do with our constituents, but also responding to our offices. And I'm sure that, like my office, we're all contacting your staff for many, many things. And so I just wanted to say I appreciate that. So in planning, I think the engagement piece is great. You guys do just a great job. And we're also when we talk about different ways to reach the community, we often point to planning and how planning does it, because you guys do a great job. Very excited about the commercial to residential conversions. I think it's really important that as you get applications in, that if there are obstacles that we didn't think through in the legislation, to please let us know, because often there might be a little tweaks that we need. So I think that's important. And then the expedited process, I think it's great, but I think we need to caution, if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. So when we look at different expedited processes, again, where are the sticking points when we go through this? And I think that's important. Just so if we look at what can be streamlined, perhaps that becomes the norm, or the opposite of it's just not doable. And I think that we just need to be aware of what's happening there. So I appreciate that. And then for parks, we're so excited about Ovid Hazen Wells. It's the carousel is of course a big deal. But I would ask that the community be aware and invited. So very often it's the mucky mucks who come and cut the ribbon, right, or whatever. But I think it's really important. The community's been waiting for this for so very long. So I think that's important. And then the Potomac Horse Center, I think it's just so important that the community be aware of what's happening with the demolition. That Horse Center is right on the border between my district and Councilmember Friedson's district. And I guarantee that as soon as the demolition starts, we're going to get phone calls about what's happening. There's conspiracy theories about what's eventually going to happen with that land. And I just think it's really important that the community be aware. We can help push that out. I just don't want anybody to think that something nefarious is happening when they see the demolition.
Yeah, we are going to put out notifications about the demolition, and it's not a guarantee that every single person will see these notifications and take it in. So you may get some concerns and definitely pass those along to us as well. One of the reasons why we wanted to we needed to deal with the buildings because they were dangerous, they were unsafe, and they were failing. So they needed to come down. And because this is parkland, and our goal is to make it available and open to the public, but also that helps kind of alleviate some of the concerns or conspiracy theories or misinformation that gets out there, and and it makes its way around the world before the facts can get their pants on. So that's part of why we're taking the buildings down. We're going to let everybody know that we're doing it. We're putting in a path. We're making some, low cost changes, but changes that make it very clear this is a park that is available to the public.
Thank you very much. Next, Councilmember Don Lukey.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you all for your incredibly hard work and your diligence and your ongoing collaboration with all of us and our offices. And, I greatly appreciate the attention to the people part of the work you do and that we all need to do. And that's the most rewarding part of this for me, solving problems and then finding out how they play out in the actual community. So thank you for the Community Trends Report and for making it easy for people to access with a QR code. And I think that's something incredibly valuable for all of our residents. And to the point that Director Figueredo just landed on, where there's rumors, there's stuff. Well, when you look at something like that and the detail and the interactivity of it that you can have on the website with it, that goes a long way toward myth busting or inaccuracies, because it's collected together. And shout out and commendation for the little tiny piece of the hornet's nest in Damascus that got featured in that photo. I appreciated that. They actually are having their 10th anniversary today. I also wanted to thank and welcome officially Chief Robinson. I know how much passion you bring to this role and that you have always brought to your work on behalf of the agency. So thank you. It's always good to see you. And to the folks at Parks for all the work on Emery Grove. And I want to say, again, back to the people part. The day before the ribbon cutting, I was at the Gaithersburg Library with our folks from Prathertown who were doing a program about Prathertown, and ran into Elena, who had done large chunks of the work on behalf of the Emery Grove project. And we were both so excited about what was going to happen the next day that we spent probably another half hour in the hallway talking about the interviews that she had conducted and the people she met and all of their stories. And there is no other way to do the work other than to sit down and build trust and spend a lot of time with folks. But there's so much more to be told and to be shared, so that others can experience what I have been able to, or what Elena has been able to, in talking to those residents directly, to the family members of those affected directly, and to be able to share in understanding and appreciating the joy of what once was, what was lost, and what may be for the future. I want to thank you for updating the athletic field policy and increasing penalties for the ghost permitting. That is a pet peeve. If you are not using the field, you should let it go. We have a mega shortage of athletic fields. You're just hurting children. You're hurting children who want to be able to play by hogging the fields and then not using them. I also thought it was interesting that dog parks rated higher than pickleball this time. On your, who knew? But you can in fact go do both at Columbia Local Park in my colleague's district, which brings me to my next point: cleanup programs. And I thank you for highlighting that. I know I've done one with the Scouts troop I work with at Columbia Local Park, which was great. And stay tuned, because we have some more Scouts who need service hours, and we will be letting you know. We're happy to expand beyond our Scout area to other parks that are most in need of assistance. So we will be reaching out. And I want to thank the Weed Warriors. And I noticed at the mention of the word bocce, Darren smiled at me because he knows I am very interested in the bocce program. So I'll give you a chance to update sort of where you are with the planning of having the fields available, or courts, I should say. It's the appropriate term. Unless, yep.
So we're looking at, because I think the last time or two I've been here, we've shared that we were doing site selection for a bocce plex, so that it would be enough bocce courts. I think bocce courts,
yes.
so that you could actually have events there. So you could have little bocce tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And that would make it much more useful, because we know that folks are coming to parks and sort of setting up their own mobile, and we wanted to make it like permanent and nice, and people. So we are thinking that MLK might be a great location. It has the space, the parking, we might be able to make one fit there. Stay tuned. At some point, we, may, for example, go to the state and ask them to help pitch in to fund that. So yes, so we're moving along, and we're excited about that.
Thank you. And
late breaking. Actually, we did submit a bond bill request for bocce at MLK.
Thank you, Darren. And last but not least, reiterating Councilmember Balcom, Vice President Balcom's comment about notifying the communities. And I too am excited about the opening of Ovid Hazen Wells, because it serves both our districts. It's right on the backside of her district and the edge of my district. I'm only sad that I won't be there on the day of the ribbon cutting, because I really wanted to ride the carousel with Vice President Balcom. But I know how important this is to both of our districts and extended communities, because other folks certainly come up county, just as up county folks go down county to recreate and visit different places. So it's really important that we get the word out and make sure we can maximize community involvement with those events.
Hopefully the weather will cooperate, and then I think we'll get a really big turnout.
Yeah,
we want to get the word out.
I hope so too. Thank you for all that you do, and you are much appreciated.
So May 16 for the carousel, 2 p.m. Is that right? I might go just because the carousel comes from Wheaton.
Yeah,
so, oh no, it's not that one.
It does.
Yeah.
It's going to be all souped up.
Yeah, still. I'm still gonna say the Wheaton carousel. Next, Lorian Sales.
All right. Thank you, Natalie. Okay. Thank you to our Parks and Planning for the wonderful presentation. I so appreciate your partnership and your creativity with all the work that you are overseeing. So thank you again for making our public spaces a place where people want to enjoy. I will start with planning and had a question about the Tacoma Park minor master plan amendment. Have you had any conversations on the redevelopment of Adventist Hospital? And are we seeing any applications for the redevelopment of housing along Maple Avenue?
So I'm not aware of any applications at this time for along Maple Avenue, but I know that there are there have been some conversations about potential activity at Adventist, so at the hospital site, but nothing that has been submitted yet.
Okay, because, I know we have a new economic development director, and so hopefully you have acquainted yourself and we can potentially have him assist with raising awareness about this area and any assistance he can do to help market this part of the county as a new place for redevelopment efforts. Okay. I know we spoke briefly about the governor's new Starter Homes Act, and I know that residents have also weighed in on this. Has the department taken a stance on this legislation? And
Sure. So yes, we did bring that bill to the planning board a few weeks back, and we submitted an official statement that came from both Prince George's and Montgomery County, the full commission. The big thing that we focused on with that particular bill was we didn't wade into the question of state preemption. We left that if the county were so inclined to make that argument. We really looked at the policy and whether or not it made sense for Montgomery County and where we want to see growth and where we don't want to see growth. And the concern that we had was that the geography that a lot of the bill applied to, or different portions of it, was different geographies, was too broad. And so we really wanted our big recommendation was to hone in and focus in the areas where we've already identified as wanting to see growth go. So the priority funding areas is what we suggested, along with areas that already have or plan to have water and sewer.
awesome. And so do you have any recommendations for any specific legislation or proposals that we should be championing or introducing to support smaller infill development?
So there are a number of things that, first of all, I will say that we're very supportive of efforts and working closely with the new director at the EDC and the EDC in general in trying to find opportunities to promote Montgomery County and promote it in a very positive light, and for people to kind of change the narrative about what it means to do business in Montgomery County. But beyond that, if we're talking about, smaller lot, yes, I mean, I think there are opportunities to look at things like cottage courts and other, maybe, on kind of like a pilot basis. Like, are there places where we can consider, incorporating smaller lots, single-family homes that are, what we consider cottages, or more multifamily, duplexes and triplexes. And I will note that at our development review committee this morning, we had our first workforce housing optional method project that came before the DRC committee as a concept plan. So for a duplex. So really excited to see that, that there is a movement towards those smaller options for housing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Director Sartori, for the updates. I will turn over to Parks now. I did enjoy the celebration at Johnson's Local Park to see those installations, those beautiful installations. And so I am very excited about what is to come for the remaining parts of the parks updates. And I know that the PHP committee discussed this yesterday about potentially becoming a standalone project. And so I supported Councilmember Lutke's letter of support. I did notice that on the project website, it's a bit outdated. There hasn't been anything in over a year. Just want to know if you're aware of this.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to be making some updates to the website to reflect more recent work and the fact that we are currently working on a concept plan and then hoping to go to a facility plan if in fact this becomes a standalone project, if the council approves that this coming year. But we'll make sure that gets updated. Thank you.
Thank you, because I know the committee is meeting regularly, I believe monthly. And then just wanted to clarify the status of the state aid you are applying for. Is it contingent on the $2.5 million in GO bonds? And is there anything that we can do to help support or advocate for this in the state?
Well, thank you for asking. We have requested additional funding through the state delegation in that district. I think the amount that we settled on as a request for this year was $750,000. That would certainly help. It doesn't close the funding gap we have for the park. So, of course, any help with the delegation, urging them on and letting them know what a priority this is for you and for the council and for the residents, that's all very important. If we don't have, because we likely, even with the $750,000, we won't have enough for everything we anticipate we want to do at the park, we would come back again next year at the state and ask them again for funding on top of what we really hope we get this year.
Okay. And so is there a project scope available yet for this park?
Not yet. What we have is a concept, but in order to get to a full scope, and enough design so that we have a reliable cost estimate, we would need to go to a facility plan, which is really just getting us to 30% design, and that's how we get reliable cost estimates. So we have some ideas because we were planning to renovate this park now for several years, so we have some ideas about what would be included, but it's not a full scope at this point.
Okay. It would be helpful to see the concept as we're still weighing the next steps to make sure everyone's ideas are captured appropriately. I did have another question given a few of us recently attended the Department of Agriculture's annual luncheon with our farmers, and we discussed incubators at park properties for innovative projects like community gardens or small ag ventures, similar to activities underway in Prince George's County, and just wanted to better understand barriers to doing a pilot project at our Ag History Farm Park.
We are, so the same, I guess, group of people who you and other council members have been in discussion with on this issue also directly reached out to us recently to ask for a meeting to talk about how to advance this idea of an incubator. I think they have in mind specifically doing something at Ag History Farm Park is my belief. And so we're happy to meet with them to sit down and talk about, you know, what this would look like. And so beyond like the barriers of, is this something that can physically go in a particular park, given other plans we might have for the park, I will be quite frank with you and tell you that the barriers are staff and funding.
Okay, so if that's the only problem, then that is a good place to start, in that there are no other barriers to us actually setting aside part of the park for this innovative.
Well, we haven't looked yet. We haven't met with this group yet, and we haven't yet had the opportunity to discuss exactly what we have in what they have in mind. So we would need to look at the site. We have just all the normal processes that the Parks Department has to engage in to allow for what we call a non-park use of parkland, which is somebody else coming and doing something on parkland that involves us. So there is a process, but again, primarily it is one of capacity, not just physical capacity in a park, but our staff capacity and our funding, because this is something that would require probably, you know, quite a bit of our involvement.
Yes.
So, but we are excited to have the conversation.
Oh, good. I would love to join that conversation if possible. So I'll reach out and see if we can support this. I also wanted to ask about the Montgomery Village area. Our county has struggled to provide access to quality after-school programs and safe recreational facilities, particularly in Montgomery Village and Clarksburg. And so I just wanted to understand how Parks Department is working with local leaders like the City of Gaithersburg, MCPS, HOC, HHS, Department of Recreation, to address these gaps.
I can get you more information about what projects we have ongoing in that area. I can tell you right off the top of my head that one of the recent projects we got state funding for was for a new skate park at Centerway Park that we are very excited about, and I think that's going to be a great opportunity for engaging young people in the area, and it got a lot of support from the delegation.
Yeah, there's a lot of open space already in Montgomery Village particularly, but a year-round space for these young people is a priority. And so to hear that a skate park is coming is great. However, they need an enclosed space that they can go to year-round. And all of the development that I see happening in that area, from the shopping centers, the residential development, it's long overdue.
So I would, in terms of a rec center, I would follow up with the rec department if that's, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that the Parks Foundation has, you shared some updates on all of the philanthropic funds that have been collected, given the park benches and memorabilia, which is beautiful. I just wanted to understand how we are utilizing these funds and distributing them equitably across the system, and how we're targeting underserved areas in the county.
So the Parks Foundation is an independent 501c3. They do take in money for specific projects. So people will make a contribution, say they want to contribute to Brookside Gardens or some specific project. And then there are general contributions that come into the Parks Foundation that aren't assigned to a specific project. And then those are used to support parks priorities.
Okay. And how are we distributing them equitably if they're not specific to a line item project?
I would say in the same way that the Parks Department makes all its funding decisions, both on the capital and the operating side, which is we always look at what equity considerations are and prioritize that.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to follow up on that, and I'll follow up later. My last question is about our stream restoration projects. We always get so many emails from residents who have their own ideas about these projects. And I know that this is not a new topic for you either, but would like to hear about some examples of completed projects that have delivered tangible benefits to the community, and how we're communicating this both online and in any promotional public printed materials.
Yeah, I'd be happy to get back to you with some specific examples of stream restoration projects. And we are trying to make sure that we communicate ahead of time what the benefits of these projects are.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Evan Glass.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Appreciate all the questions my colleagues have asked. And so with regards to efficiency and given the time that we're at, Mr. Sartori and Mr. Chair, appreciate all you're doing on the planning side. But I just have one question for the parks. We've spent a lot of time here at the council and in the community talking about weather and the crazy weather and snowcrete and everything that we've been responding to. And I wanted you to provide an opportunity to talk about how the changing weather is affecting our parks, and if there are any investments that we need to make sure that they are functional and that we maintain the high quality and standard given the environmental changes occurring all around us.
Yeah, so parks see the same impacts from, for example, increased precipitation, whether it's the ice we got, and we had to, spend quite a bit of overtime hours making sure we cleared that up. But also all of the flooding issues, the storms that used to be 100-year storms aren't really 100-year storms anymore. And now what we're seeing is that because of all the regulations that we have to follow in order to deal with increased demand for stormwater management, it definitely has an impact on our ability even to develop parks and on the cost of developing parks to follow all of these necessary regulations that apply to parkland just like they apply everywhere else. And then in terms of how to mitigate the impacts, because we're just one department, so climate change and all of those impacts are they hit everybody, but we have a role in making sure that people in parks are having the best possible park experience. So one of the things that we hear a lot about, and you saw that in the CIP slide, people are interested in shade and seating, and providing shade in parks is a function of trees, of course. In parks are so important. They play a really important role in our urban parks. They keep the place cooler. But also shade structures, which are very expensive to provide in parks. Water, we hear increasingly from residents, not just that they need potable water to drink, and we do get requests for water fountains, but also water features, which are not really something we've done in parks before, but we think we have to be open to it because on hot days, people want to come and they want to run around in the water. On the question of trees, we are very focused on this, and in fact, we recently mapped every single tree that we have in our developed parks. We have, I think, 30,000 trees that we mapped and numbered in our developed parks, and we are doing heat mapping and layering that with equity focus areas to make sure that we are planting trees in parks that people are in and focusing on where they are most needed, again, as a way of mitigating the impacts of climate change in parks. I hope that helps a little bit.
It does, and I appreciate you elaborating on some of the information you already have, how you're going to apply it moving forward, referencing the CIP. Clearly, our community continues growing and evolving, and the needs continue to grow and evolve, and parks do literally grow in that same way. And we need our trees and we need other amenities to meet the time, whether it is pickleball or dog parks or something else. There's always something new. And with the climate continuing to change, I suspect that there will be in the future greater need for stormwater management in a different respect than where it was previously asked about by Councilmember Sales, but just making sure that our parks are actually well drained, because that is going to be a problem, and trees can not survive if they are flooded. And so look forward to continuing this conversation and appreciate you and your team, especially over the last month or so, and the overtime, which may or may not be reflected in the budget. We'll find out. Different conversation. Thank you.
Councilmember Shebra Evans.
Thank you. So I don't have any questions. Mine are more so comments. This probably will be the last time I'm going to sneak and do it, that my colleagues will allow me to say that I'm new on the council. But I know that's it, right? But I appreciate the presentation. It really has informed me on a lot that's happening here in Montgomery County around the planning and the parks, and I am super happy to be a resident. While we were sitting here, I followed you on all the social media handles. Hadn't been doing that before, doing that now. And I just love that our residents are slowly being able to experience a completeness to their neighborhood. People want to be able to do all they can do in their community, and we're trying to do that through the work that we're doing in developing and in parks and trails. And I was looking at the Meaningful Day programs, and that's just lovely how we're just trying to make certain that we're inclusive here in Montgomery County. I missed the event, the Johnson Park event, with it being rescheduled because of the rain date. There was a conflict, but I loved seeing the the photos, and then even hearing Councilmember Katz just say what memories it has brought back for him. He knows everybody in Montgomery County. So I appreciate his stories and all that he shares. But I also appreciated hearing about our volunteers. So not only do our residents value Montgomery County, but they value it so much they give of their time. And it really helped to hear you talk about the number of volunteer hours equating to 6 staff, right? So that's also a signal to the council that what's needed in that area too. So just wanted to just say thank you for all your hard work. And I would be remiss, I know you have a lot of staff out in the audience, and I appreciate all your hard work. I do want to shout out Carolyn McCarthy. Yes, we serve on a committee together outside of our day jobs, but she's really great in bringing forward that information that she has to the women that we serve with. And then just in speaking about MCPS and Parks and Planning, definitely valued that partnership when I was on the school board. And I thought at some point we moved to like 2 meetings in 1 year. Maybe we did it one time, maybe we didn't. But I know it was very important that we get together as often as we did, because you do the planning, you have the information, you have the data. So I just like how we've developed the website so that the community can go and figure out and dig deeper on their own, because they do want to know all of the information. But mine was just comments, and just thank you for, you hosted me too. So people don't know that as I was trying to take a deep dive into this work, I went to visit with you all and sat and spent a good bit of time with you, just getting up to speed even more. So I appreciate that, and just wanted to acknowledge you all and thank you.
Thank you very much. And that was it with everybody who wanted to speak. I see. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Sartori.
I'm sorry. I just, I want to kind of justify Vice President Balcom's comments about our responsiveness, and point out that to Councilmember Stewart that we do have people who are not here who are paying attention. And to Councilmember Katz, even though our work that doesn't directly affect your district, you're just as important to us. And so I want to respond to your question. All right, I missed the deadline, I think. The 3,100 units that the Planning Board approved last year, 80% of those were for multifamily. The other 20% were single family, attached or detached. We don't have the breakdown of those, although I would suspect that most of those were attached. But I did want to distinguish between what we see the Planning Board approve entering into our development tracker and what's actually being permitted and then built. There's the distinction there. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Directors Sartori and Figueredo, and to the Planning Board Chair Harris for all your wonderful work, and the family of the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. With that, my friends, we're going to move on to item number 8, is the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve this?
Second.
Moved by Vice President Balcom, second by Councilmember Friedson. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. With that, we're going to be in recess until 1:30 p.m. and return for more public hearings. Councilmember Friedson, go ahead.
Yeah, just briefly, I wanted to flag item B. We didn't put this as a standalone item. There'll be more to discuss later, but wanted to thank colleagues for sponsorship and support of the local food procurement challenge. This is something that I've mentioned before, but ultimately Montgomery County is going to be the first jurisdiction in the region, and we're hoping other jurisdictions follow us to take on the Council of Governments Local Food Procurement Challenge. This is something that the Council of Governments Farm Committee that I chair has taken on as our major initiative this year, and very proud of Montgomery County's leadership in this area. This is an opportunity for us to demonstrate our regional resilience. Despite federal uncertainty, there have been massive draconian cutbacks to food programs, and it has destabilized the entire food system. We saw the impacts that COVID had on the local food system, and in fact, the current destabilizing forces from the federal government could be worse long-term on the food system. So this is a way for us as a region, as local governments, to use the power of our example and the power of our investments to lead in this area to support our local food producers and our nonprofit organizations that are part of this effort in our local and regional food system to make sure that we're providing culturally competent food. Want to thank Heather Bruskin in particular, who has been a great partner and a real regional leader on this in our Office of Food Systems Resilience, and Lindsay and Sydney and Sarah Hoverder from Georgetown Law O'Neill Institute, who have been leading the effort at Council of Governments Farm Committee, and Cindy Gibson and Warren Hansen on my team, who've been working on this as well. So more to come on this. I'll also acknowledge and want to appreciate, in addition to council colleagues, the county executive and executive branch, who have been very supportive of this effort and have deployed Heather to lead in so many ways, as well as that office. I just want to express my appreciation, and I will yield back to you, but that's item B.
Thank you so much for all your work in representing us in COG and all your leadership on this issue. With that, we are truly adjourned until 1:30.